Yo, what is up, all my cool cats and kittens? We are looking at the topic 5 review. Yes, we are. And it starts off with saying, hey, I've got this figure where M is the midpoint of BC. Identify the following segments. It starts off with AL. So let's take a look-sees at the segment AL. AL goes from the vertex to the opposite side there, and it does that with a nice right angle. So we got to think what segment makes a right angle, which means perpendicular, and goes to the vertex. Well, that would be called the altitude, also known as the height of the triangle. So AL is your altitude. Up next, let's look at AM. Now we said that M is the midpoint. So AM here goes from that vertex A to the midpoint M. So vertex to midpoint, that should trigger thoughts of medians. So the median is the one that we made in class where we had the triangles cut out and we had to find the midpoint and then connect the vertex to the midpoint. And we balanced the point of concurrency there on our finger. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. Up next is AP. AP, where are you? Here I am. How do you do? So AP is the green one here, and it has the little green arc marks that go with it. Arc mark. So those arc marks tell me that it makes two congruent angles, which means AP is an angle bisector. So you notice how important it is to look at the markings on the figures. Last up is QM. All right, QM, this guy right here. QM, I see a 90-degree angle, so that tells me perpendicular. And also, I remember that M is the midpoint. So if M is the midpoint, and it makes a 90-degree angle, then that's a perpendicular, because of the 90, bisector, because of the midpoint. So QM is perpendicular bisector. All right, guys, so make sure that you do know your 4 special segments. We took a quiz on this, quiz A. I don't remember what question number it was. That was mostly from quiz A. There was even one question on quiz B like that. Cool. All right, on number 2, it says an ice cream vendor wants to be located equidistant to 2 points. Those points are a zoo and an amusement park. So if I want to be equidistant to 2 points, here's my 2 points. If I want to be an equal distance from those 2 points, zoo and amusement park, well, I could be in the midpoint, or I could be on any point on this line. Any point on that line would be an equal distance to both of the endpoints. Okay, so I got to understand that all started with thinking about how, hey, I was on the midpoint, or I could be any point on the line that extends from that midpoint. And you need to know that that's called the perpendicular bisector. In fact, that's like the one thing we learned about a perpendicular bisector is that it was equidistant to the endpoints. Number 3, list all the special segments that apply to PS. All right, guys, so this looks a lot like question number 1 on quiz A. And the reason it looks a lot like that question is because I have an isosceles triangle. Isosceles triangles are kind of special because this segment here, PS, is going to have more than one name, more than one category. It's going to be more than, well, first thing I see is that it's the altitude. It's going to be more than just that. It's an altitude because it's perpendicular and goes to the vertex. Check. But it's also a perpendicular bisector. And I can see that because it's equidistant to each endpoint. All right. It's also a median. I know it's a median because it's going from the midpoint to the vertex, so it's a median as well. And it's also an angle bisector because it's going to cut that angle in half as well. So because that sucker is an isosceles triangle, PS is an altitude, perpendicular bisector, median, and angle bisector, all at the same time. Number 4 says find the value of n. Well, since it's a perpendicular bisector, since I know that S is the midpoint, I know that these two pieces are congruent to each other. I know that 6n plus 3 is equal to 4n plus 11. So you need to set that up just like that and solve it for n. Okay, all your n's need to be on one side. Okay, and then you need to get all your numbers on the other side, so subtract the 3. 2n equals 8, so divide by 2, and n equals 4. You can't stop there. If n is 4, you got to plug that n in. So 6 times 4 plus 3. All right, do your math there. 6 times 4, 24, plus 3 is 27. So I know that the distance from Q to S is 27. Well, that means this distance is 27 as well. So from Q all the way to R is 27 plus 27. So QR has a length of 27 plus 27, 54. Cool. Up next, it says that XWY, so that's the angle XWY, that starts at X, goes to W, and then through Y. So this guy right here is 15 degrees. What's ZWY? ZWY. Well, hopefully you recognize that WY is an angle bisector. So that means it cuts that big angle in half. So if YWX is 15, then the other little angle is also 15 degrees. And then when they ask about the big angle, XWZ, X vertex at W, going to Z, that big angle right there, it's going to be the 15 plus the other 15, it's going to be 30 degrees. All right, guys, so make sure you know how to recognize your angles and figure out which one they're talking about. Number 6 says label each of the following points of concurrency. Circle around the triangle. I know that's a circumcenter. Circle inside the triangle. I know it's an end center. All right, I see medians. I see medians all over the place. I see a midpoint connected to a vertex. So those are medians. And medians meet up at the centroid. So the correct answer should be centroid. All right, on the next one, I see a point Q that is the same distance to each side. So this one's going to stump some people. So point Q is equidistant to each side. So if we go back to our notes and look at which point of concurrency was equidistant to each side, we call that the end center. Okay. This looks a lot like Quiz B, so you might want to look at Quiz B for help on this section. Here I see 3 altitudes. 3 altitudes meet up at an orthocenter. And then lastly, I see a point P, and this point P is the same distance to each vertex. So equidistant to each vertex, I'm going to write that down, equidistant and that's going to be the circumcenter. So use your notes to study. Use your notes to study this stuff. It doesn't come automatically. You've got to know a lot. You got to know 8 new words: altitude, median, perpendicular bisector, angle bisector, along with their points of concurrency: centroid, end center, orthocenter, circumcenter. So please study your notes and look back over the quizzes that we've taken. And just do good. Be amazing. I believe in you. I know you can do it.